Hey guys, wanted to make a video here, something that's kind of been on my mind a little bit and thought I'd just do a short little video on it. I see a lot of videos now, talking about this upcoming civil war, or are we in a soft civil war? I know I'm touched on this in my last video, but some things I wanted to add was a lot of people are still advocating the whole bug out situation. Go to your bug out location and all of that, which, on paper sounds good. But the average person doesn't have the means to do so. It's very hard to have a bug out location that you can definitely rely on, 100%. I think in this situation anyway, you're much better off to have a bag not as a bug out but as a get home bag. Have something with you at all times in your vehicle or whatever so you can always make it home. I think you'll do a lot better, throughout anything that could happen, because at home, for one, you're familiar with your surroundings. You've got all of your stuff there that you may need, and I think you can play a little more low key, regardless of what you decide to store and all of that. Do it as low key as you can. Be very aware of all your surroundings in your neighborhood and all of that, and I think you'd be much better off to go that route. Because let's say you do get a piece of land somewhere that you want to bug out to. You've got your caches and all of this. If you're depending solely on that, you could run into trouble. Because you never know, are you going to be able to even make it there, first of all. You can practice your routes and stuff all you want, but is it a guarantee you'll actually be able to either drive, walk, whatever, to get there? You never know. Anything can happen. If they enact some kind of a martial law or whatever to where you can't leave your area, all exits are blocked by government, military, what have you, then what? You got a great, setup, but you can't get to it. It's kind of like the guy that has the most accurate, best handgun that he ever shot in his life, can't miss with it, but yet it's in the safe. He's out in town, something happens, and well, he's got the best gun and best thing he's ever had, but it's locked up in the safe, so it's not doing him a dime's worth of good. It's the same, mindset. If you can't access it and be guaranteed that you can access that instrument, bug out location, whatever, then I don't think it's all that great. I mean, if you've got the means to do so and want to use a separate location as sort of a if I can get to it type of thing, great. But don't solely rely on it. And I get the other comments of, well, I'll just hunt for all my food. Well, talk to anybody that lived during the Great Depression. I have. And they will tell you in the very, very beginning, that was a feasible idea. But very quickly, there was almost no game. Deer populations and things were almost wiped out. People shot, and ate anything that moved practically. And I've even heard, years after, the Depression was over, that they had to put in a lot of hunting regulations and things just because, there was no game. They didn't want it to go extinct. So, a lot of stuff to consider as far as that goes. So I think you would be a lot further ahead to stockpile everything, at your main location, at your house. Just do it on, on a low-key basis, so you don't want to announce it to the world that you've got everything, obviously. But And I would be very, very careful who I would let know that I've got anything. Now, you may let a few people know bits and pieces, but never reveal all of your stuff to everybody, because you never know what could happen. The nicest person in the world could stab you in the back in a heartbeat if something bad turns out. So, I mean, is this actually going to happen? At some point, I think so. But as I've said before, there's a few different scenarios that could get this to play out. There's three that really come to mind. I've mentioned some of these before, but I'll go over them real quick. One, if they were to do something like, let's say, you hear on the news that, well, at noon tomorrow, we're knocking on everybody's doors, guns are illegal, everything's done. Now, that wouldn't necessarily be a civil war, but it'd be a war nonetheless. That is not very likely. I mean, yes, a lot of states are banning this and that, but a nationwide gun ban, I don't see that in the near future. Second, and more likely, is when I compared this to the civil rights movement in the 60s. The blacks put up with a lot for a long time. And why did they put up with it? Because they always had places they could go that was kind of their territory, their space. Their churches and businesses, bars, nightclubs, wherever they wanted to go, they kind of had their version. Not that they were hiding, but where they could just get away from all the, all the mess. Didn't have to deal with it for that evening or that day, whatever. Well, conservatives are in the same mess. There's a lot of places still that we go that we're not hiding either. We just get tired of all this rhetoric from the left. We just want to get away from it for a bit. So you go out to eat or, whatever. But more and more, every day those locations are becoming less and less. We run out of, places. We'll end up like the blacks did. They started having sit-ins at the lunch counters, fighting for their right to go here, go there, push back. And we're getting closer to that level. Third scenario, and this is fairly likely as well. Whoever the next president is, and by next, I don't mean next election, but whenever we get a new president. So Trump, if he gets another 4 years, then this could get pushed back a little more. But whenever somebody else replaces Trump, it's going to be somebody from the leftist side, I'm pretty sure. They're going to bring in enough of their people to make sure they don't lose another election. They're still burned up over the last one. Hillary's still crying. But when they get their own person in there, whether it's a Democrat or they would even like it more to get a socialist in there, then they're going to feel more empowered, emboldened, Yes, they had Obama in there. He planted the seed, let's say. He gave all these people the ideas, the freedom, more or less, to do this stuff, to kind of get the wheel in motion. Like I say, he planted the seed of all this divide, not just racial, but cultural ideas, anything that could cause division. So when the next guy gets in, he can kind of reap the fruits of all that, I guess you could say. Everything's put into place, and that'll be the final piece to the puzzle, and it'll kind of be game on from then, because they're going to have full backing of their leader. I don't even want to call it a president, but they'll have that full backing. And we'll be demonized, way more than we even have been. So those are kind of my scenarios. But, prepping is always good. I know it's kind of hard. It's even hard for me when you're on a limited, income, whatever. But you do the absolute best you can. And pay attention to all your surroundings and what's going on in the world. But at the end of the day, all you can really do is protect yourself, your family, And that's, and hope for the best, I guess. I mean, because in the end, that's all any of us can do. Look out for yourself and your family because no one else will. And I think that's going to be about the only way that we'll make it through this because people are not close like they used to be. I've talked to many people in other areas that have lived with, had the same neighbors for 10 or 15 years and couldn't even tell you who they are. Luckily, I'm in a fairly small town, 14,000 or so people. And in my neighborhood, we know each other. We talk and, socialize, whatever. So, if something odd's going on in the neighborhood, we generally know it. We keep an eye out for each other. It's still the mindset of, well, I'm going to be going on vacation for a week. Here's my house keys, Something happens, you can take care of it while I'm gone. Still that kind of attitude. We do have a bad drug problem, but besides that, the homeowners are good on this street, put it that way. The renters is another story. But there's so many calls out from the left to do all this, and I've heard nothing confirmed or whatever, but rumor going around that, some of these leftist groups could try some stuff on the 4th of July. Maybe using fireworks as a means to hide their possible explosions, gunshots, what have you. So you never can tell. But in the end, do your own due diligence. I don't really want to recommend any one certain thing because there's too many variables. And what works for one will not work for the other necessarily. But just kind of wanted to throw that out there that, if you plan on bugging out, that may not be the best thing. Again, it all depends on everybody's situation, but I wouldn't rely on it, put it that way. Because we don't know how this could unfold in the long run, and it could be completely opposite of what we actually think. But no matter what any of us decide to do, don't fall for the one trap that a lot of people are right now, and I see it in tons of comments all over YouTube and other places. They laugh at the left. They think, oh, well, if we start a war, we can do it on our lunch break and get it over with. It's not that simple. They're doing this intentionally. Yes, the people we see on a lot of my live streams and others, they're weak, they're kind of useless, but those people don't matter. They're the first wave that's useless. Nothing, to worry too much about. It's the ones that come after them, the ones that are controlling them. A lot of our own military is under control of foreign officers around the world. You got the UN and all these other agencies that would jump at the chance to come after Americans. This, Antifa and all of this mess, it's a lot bigger picture. It'll not go as easy as people think. It'll be a very bloody and bad situation. How long would it last? No idea. Timetables and stuff are up in the air. But nevertheless, don't underestimate your enemy. That has cost more battles than anything throughout history. Is, the old tortoise in the hare type scenario, Never underestimate them. Don't get cocky and all of that. That's what they want. If you get all cocky and, you're king of the world, you think, just because you're on the right side, that can be your biggest demise. You got to pay attention. Do your due diligence. And like I say, take care of yourself and your family. It's the best you can do. If I hear of anything, that could be a little more concrete, of anything that could spark something, I'll definitely pass it on. But until then, that's all I got for the time being. Stay safe. Keep your powder dry. And I'll catch you soon.